3 hours of wasted time just to find out I can't play a black PC. So I hopped on Roll20 LFG and found a game. Applied through an annoying questionnaire and a whole screening process via Discord voice chat. Was accepted. Set out a time and date with the DM to do character creation. Since it was homebrewed and tedious, go through the whole character creation process for 3 hours with the DM. And then we got to the PC token picture. He sent me a list of young British celebrities on IMDb, so I picked one off there, John Boyega. I cut the background out and sent him the image. Instantly I heard a groan. He then went on to explain how in his homebrew fantasy world, there was only white people in the city the game takes place in. He then said some bullshit about realism to try and justify it. I accepted the wasted time and just dipped. I truly can't understand why you would make an entire homebrew world just to segregate people in it. Quick little update. Last night on the LFG post I left a comment saying something like maybe you should let players know they can't play non-white player characters. Sketchy neckbeard turns single player RP into catgirl creepfest. A few years back, I put out a call for players on FB and got a bunch of replies from people who wanted to play but had a hard time finding a DM. Perfect, I thought. The player numbers started to wind down while figuring out scheduling, as is expected. But I had one player who really wanted to play the game but couldn't make scheduling work, so he suggested an asynchronous single player game. Sounded easy enough, I could reply on my own time. So why not? Now I know why not. So I'm a young woman, was in my mid-20s at the time, and this player was a guy I met at an AninCon who seemed friendly enough. I hate to call that alone a red flag, but in hindsight, it kinda was. I tell him the basic premise, it's RPFQ's D&D 5e, but with themes of cosmic horror. In a homebrew setting, weird portals are opening up around the starter town, and he has to figure out how to close them before anything too dangerous gets through. Since he was playing by himself, instead of with a full party, I told him that I'd fill the setting with different NPCs he could recruit for his adventures. His first question, can I build relationships with the NPCs? I replied that of course you can, it's an RP heavy game. And your actions and conversations can get NPCs to trust you more. No, I mean romantic relationships. I raised an eyebrow and said that some NPCs could possibly respond to romantic gestures depending on the character and how it's role played. I generally don't have an issue with PC-PC or PC-NPC relationships, after all, but they are not the main focus by any means. You're okay with adult content, right? I immediately saw where this was heading and told him this may not be the kind of RPG he's looking for. This was a magic adventure RPG, not a dating sim. He insisted he was just asking out of curiosity, then asked a lot of questions about NPC appearances, including if any were anthropomorphic and how old they were, pretty much alluding to are they hot/catgirls and legal? At least I hope that adult age is the answer he was looking for. I blocked him on Discord and FB. I'm glad I shut him down fast and that he showed his true intentions before we actually started playing. The other group that I'm running the game for, they've been playing for 4 years, now are getting into high levels of play and uncovering the deeper plot points I set up, have become good friends, and 2 of them are getting married later this month. I can only imagine how the creep would have derailed this wonderful group with his catgirl spank bank goals. Lawful good player killed another player in the first session. For background, this was the first session of a homebrew campaign with a lot of really well written characters. The characters I will be focusing on in this post are Chadley the lawful good half-elf wizard who hates all elves and is part animal for some reason, and Lucinex the lawful evil elf artificer who was an assassin to make money when inventions weren't selling. Other characters that may be mentioned are Worm and Liv, tiefling rogues on the run from an evil cult, and Bill and Alice. Bill is a locator rogue and Alice is a tiefling bard. The conflict came up when the players were arguing over how to pay for a stay in an inn, and Lucinex recommended killing the owner and staying for free. Chadley was appalled by the idea and the party eventually settled on Liv's idea to purchase the entire business, but that didn't stop Chadley. After they took a long rest, Chadley's player asks me, can I shoot a magic missile at Lucinex? I say yes, and he proceeded to roll a 20. Lucinex failed all 3 saving throws and died. When asked why the heck he did that, he said it was because his character hated elves and Lucinex tried to kill somebody, so she would have no problem trying to kill him, and was clearly the traitor. I had slipped up and said there was a traitor. I'm not going to say who, because one of my players knows my account. Lucinex was not the traitor however, and was now dead. Am I wrong to think that a lawful good character wouldn't kill somebody without proof? DM should have probably checked my attacks. So we had an encounter with 4 very powerful bandits in the middle of the woods. One downed me after I took him to bloodied with a bunch of monk attacks. So the man yanked the sword from my character. When I lucked out on saving throws and got up, he replied, "Aha, you can't do anything now. I have your weapon." My sword did 1d8 plus 4. My unarmed strikes are 1d8 plus 4. The sword was just sentimental to the character. So I went. The monk got visibly upset. Possibly the most upset the group has seen, from the small monk pivoting his tiny legs into a defensive position. He takes a martial arts stance. I'd like to use flurry of blows and I'll start with stunning strike with each attack until it succeeds. Enemy fails a saving throw. Enemy is stunned, and all attacks against him gained advantage. All the hits that failed were met with me using my lucky feat to roll a success. I've never seen a DM gasp in disbelief so hard in my life. Turns out there was supposed to be reinforcement in a few turns. Except they didn't, because my monk attacks annihilated and stunned their leader. The DM pulled us into a meeting after the session was over. "Hey, I might not be able to play next week." That was the bad guy that was going to be a major part of the next 5 sessions. He was supposed to show up and show off how powerful he was in a brutal battle with the group and escape. He wasn't expecting immediate step of the wind use in move 1, flurry of blows, and stunning strikes to change that. The campaign group was quietly dissolved. We stayed friends and still laugh about it sometimes. Can we stop with the fake callouts? I've been seeing more and more posts and comments about fake stories that are honestly getting exhausting. People like to think they can suss out bullshit, but people also like to think they are good drivers. Sorry to say, but statistically, you're just as likely to get fooled as the next schmuck. Just looking at the red flags post, you can see multiple comments where people can't agree on what is and isn't a red flag. When the story is too long. When the story isn't long enough. When there are too many details. When there aren't enough details. Sorry Reddit Detective Estm, but your super sleuth powers leave quite a bit to be desired. There's literally zero way to confirm whether something is true or not. Everyone here has a story that would sound unbelievable to anyone who wasn't there to witness. All the fake comments and posts are going to do is drive away the people who don't want to deal with defending their story. TL. Doctor. Think a story is fake. Downvote and move on. The fake comments just make you look like an asshole. Edit. You all can argue with me or downvote me as much as you want. The only people who will actually care when you call a post out for being fake are the people who aren't lying. The ones posting fake stories will just get better at lying. Congrats Sorcerer Player D yourself. .jpg. I'm so bored with this game, and I feel so stuck. I'm in a campaign with my fiancé and good friends, and I'm so uninvested in the game that the only reason I haven't quite is because I want to play with my fiancé. As we are both DM, we don't get to be play as much. The DM made a pretty interesting world, and it has a unique concept, but the execution of the game is lacking. The expectations of the game were poorly set, because I created my character for combat, and after months of playing I think I've been in combat maybe 3 times. Everyone has a patron god they work with. Mine is also my warlock patron. My character is actually pretty unique in who their patron is, but I have had almost no communication from my patron, while everyone else gets to go see and talk to their patron gods pretty regularly. I have nowhere to get lore like everyone else, so I'm constantly playing catch up, and for a long time it felt like, still does in some ways, that I don't even need to be present or exist in the game. I decide if I don't care, I might as well make my own fun and message the DM about starting my villain arc and just having my character make poor choices, but not necessarily screwing the party over. Well, the DM loved the idea so much that they gave me cursed magic item. I'm the smartest, wisest, strongest, fastest, and most beautiful person I know, and I deserve whatever I desire. basically taking away what I wanted my villain arc would to be, because now the character is a narcissist. To make it worse, my patron told me to kill another player character. Like I don't want to do that. I'm not having fun and now I'm just so checked out of the game that I'm basically not playing anymore, but feel stuck to stay because all my friends and fiance play the game and I want to hang out with them. Edit. Y'all are right. I should talk to my DM, but between the mixture of I think they will take it poorly and everyone else is really invested in the game, I doest feel worth it. I've definitely checked out of the game completely, which also makes it less motivating for me to want to solve it. Sorcerer Player overreacts to a slip up and abruptly leaves the session because of it. Short story but really memorable for me because it was just so bizarre to me. Our party encountered an NPC that we eventually discovered is a dragon, and we were trying to investigate what kind of dragon he was to be prepared to confront him. With the clues that EM gave throughout the session and several good rolls on checks, we managed to deduce that he was a black dragon. Our wizard asked it out loud. So he's black? He was asking it seriously to know if said NPC was a black dragon, and he did not realize he worded it so ambiguously until we jokingly pointed that out. He was flustered and apologized for the slip up while we joked and teased him for it, but the table knew he didn't mean anything malicious except for Sorcerer. While we were lightly teasing him for the slip up, Sorcerer also added how racist he was. At first we thought she was joining in on teasing him, but we quickly realized with how her tone escalated that she really was offended with the question. She started going off on how she was appalled at how racist the wizard was and that she finally see his true colors. She also went off on Cleric, who was telling her to chill, scolding him that since he was black he should be more offended at wizard. Needless to say, we were dumbfounded. Wizard kept apologizing for his slip up while things shifted quickly from us teasing wizard to us telling Sorcerer to chill out and placating her. Some of her words went over my head, but I remember one of the more bizarre things she said went along the lines of "You're justifying what he said was a slip up. But what if the slip up was killing someone? Will you still be telling me to chill out?" After some time of her going off on wizard, she did the "I just can't with you people" thing and left after we kept telling her she's overreacting and that none of us were siding with her. That's it, I guess. We never heard from her afterwards. I got word from Ranger and EM, who was the closest to her, that she ranted about it to their mutual friends, but she pretty much got the same response as the people from our table. Eater. Since the comments brought it up, I will add here that yes, Sorcerer is in actual fact White Eater too, for those who are curious about the teasing we did to Wizard. Basically when Wizard said that, Cleric and I joked by doing over dramatic, appalled gasps, while Ranger just addition. DM gave an amused look at Wizard and teased him by asking back, "You're asking if NPC is black?" And that's when it dawned on Wizard on how he just worded his question. That's literally it. My friend is getting bullied through his game. My friend doesn't have Reddit, so I'm posting on his behalf. I DM for him, but the group in question is from another game that he's in. Keep in mind, this group is online and with fellow adults. He's basically told me that over the course of this game, he has had 4 characters die. They've only played around 10 sessions. 2 of the deaths have been at the hands of other players. One was during PvP, the other as the players basically threw his character off a cliff, with no saving throw required by the DM. The DM has targeted him every session. His DM has had every enemy in combat focus specifically on this character, refused to let his character roll saving throws, said that he failed saving throws the other players passed, even though he got higher rolls than them, plus his DM rolls their death saves. And my friend's character almost always get all fails or a nat 1 every time. Every time he dies, or his character gets hurt, the entire group, including the DM, finds it incredibly funny. When the other players aren't killing him, they are messing with his character in other ways, like trying to take their things, making NPCs attack the character, or beating up the character. He's told the DM that he feels like he's being targeted, and the DM basically told him to grow up cause it's funny. My friend is also autistic and isn't always great at picking up on cues. He wasn't totally oblivious, he just thought he was overreacting. Since one time, after they killed his character, he got upset and left, and everyone in the group told him he was being dramatic and to grow up. I think they were basically gaslighting him into thinking that he was being the childish one when they're the ones acting like middle school bullies. Really, their behavior is exactly like bullies messing with someone, saying it's just a joke, and then finding it funny whenever the subject of their torment gets upset. The group we are in together all told him to block them and not to play with them and to distance himself from them. But he's a bit nervous about the prospect. He knows he has to. He just doesn't like confrontation. I feel really bad since he's a really nice guy, super funny, and an awesome player. I genuinely think this group had it out for him because he sometimes struggles with social cues and obviously refused to make accommodations for him at the table. I think because of this, they just thought he was weird and a good target for their power trip. Right now I really want to help support him in dumping these guys and giving him an actual good supportive group to play with. Edit. Fix grammar and formatting, and added more details, so I won't have to keep going back and adding details as he gives me more information about this group.